What is going on, guys? Platypus Way here. Today I'm going to be talking about the original ending for Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. I haven't been able to share this information for quite some time, but now that some time has finally passed, I can share and give you guys an emphasis on what the original ending was going to be. I will even be playing some audio for you guys to get an understanding of exactly what would have went down. Now, it's not much, but it is, something, and let's get into it. So to sort of give a wrap up of what the ending would have been like, it's actually very similar to what we got in the base game. However, the base game, as if you guys know who have played it, it's comic book form. Like, it's more just like, I don't really know how to explain it. You just kind of have to play the game. It's not actual cutscenes, and that's why people didn't really have a lot of hope going into the game's DLC and a lot of problems with the game's DLC. And also, too, we missed out on a lot of big stuff. There was the return of Batman that we missed out on, the return of Wonder Woman, and the return of Superman. However, the ending would have involved one character, and that was Batman. Now, there are still voice lines out there for Batman and Kevin Conroy that still have yet to be leaked, that do revolve around the game's ending, but I don't have those with me today. Will I ever have those? Will I ever have, the privilege to share that? Probably not. Now, what makes the ending to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League so unique? Well, believe it or not, we've actually have already heard it, and what Kevin was going to say for his final line, for his final performance as Batman. And you guys are probably wondering, what are you talking about? Is there something we missed? Well, it's not something we missed. It was actually kind of thrown right in front of us, and let me explain. Back in the Batman reveal trailer, back in 2021, you can hear his final line for the game's original ending at the end, and I'll play it right here so you guys can understand it.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Now, this voice line did not make it into the final game. This voice line was saved for the very ending to conclude the game. And how it would have ended is basically how we saw it, except it would have been in cutscene form, and obviously, like what I said, with Kevin Conroy as Batman sharing his final lines as, this iconic character that we've all grown to know and love, as he would have punched the 13th Brainiac in the face, then saying his final line. Now, I'm not exactly sure if he says the line before defeating Brainiac, or he says it after. That's still a little, don't have much information on that, and like what I said, don't really have much information about this in general. This is just what I've been told from a really good source. And also too, like what I've said, I've been told as well that there's still voice lines out there that have yet to been released, which I've mentioned earlier, which when those eventually release, I'm sure it'll mesh all together so we can sort of picture this ending and kind of piece by piece and see what it would have been. Now, continuing on with that, though, like what I said, the ending of what we got in the comic strip form is basically like what it would have been, but just imagine it more in a cutscene form, if that makes sense. Now, before you guys throw Rocksteady under the bus and and call them a bunch of terrible names in my comment section, please be mindful why they did this. They wanted to respect Kevin Conroy the best they could, and they didn't want to have his lines in a game that was a failure, because obviously we all know Suicide Squad failed. It did not do well. So it seems like, from what I've understand, from what I've heard, they cut out his voice lines for the post-launch content. They didn't want his final performance to be used in a flop, something that wasn't good, something that was considered trash by the public. So they thought it was best for them to just take him out entirely, which is why, too, like what I mentioned, we've all heard the voice line. We've all heard, technically, his voice line for the ending of the game. It's just, we just didn't get to actually see it play out. And it wasn't in the actual game because they cut it. But, like what I said, it would have revolved around saving the Justice League and Batman sharing the honor of defeating the final Brainiac with the squad to conclude Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. Now, like what I said, will we ever hear these lines in the future, the rest of the voice lines? Because I only shared a snippet of what's basically public knowledge and what I've been told that was going to be used for his final line that would have ended the game. I don't know. Maybe, like what I said, maybe I'll make a video in the future discussing about the leaked voice lines. I don't know. I've heard in the rumor mill that they have been released, but I haven't been able to find them, and I don't think anyone else has been able to find them. I really don't know. But yeah, that's kind of basically the original ending of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, of how it would have went down. It would have revolved around Batman. It would have revolved around, the iconic, the best Batman ever, Kevin Conroy, rest in peace. And it would have given him a nice conclusion. Although I will say, what he got, the tribute at the end of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was very good. And I think it was nice for Rocksteady to put that in the game. But, obviously, we all love this character. We all love the Batman Arkham series. And, we just wanted to see more of our character. So, or our favorite character. So, it was tough when, he wasn't really there for that season finale like we all initially expected. But it was in the original plans. It's just because the game failed, because the game didn't do well, they just didn't want to sort of leave, a bad mark on Kevin Conroy's legacy for what he was, because in my opinion too, I kind of understand it. You want to have something that's great to sort of, leave a mark on their legacy, because a lot of people were already giving, Rocksteady a tough time for, his character's death in the game. We all know though that he was coming back, but a lot of people, tried to use it as, disrespect, and threw Rocksteady under the bus for completely disrespecting the character. But it was pretty obvious if you played the game, you knew that this wasn't the end of, Rocksteady's Justice League. But yeah, and, I kind of just ask you guys kindly and respectfully, please don't throw Rocksteady's name under the bus in my comment section. They thought it was the best decision for the game and for them, because they knew that the game was basically already a disaster waiting to happen, and they knew that there wasn't really going to be much going for the game's DLC. So they just thought it was the best decision to not have it tarnish Kevin Conroy's legacy, because, it just would not have been good. Although for all of us fans, it would have been great to hear those final voice lines, to see that cutscene. It was probably for the best. And like what I said, eventually will those other not cutscenes, but voice lines release, and we can all mesh them together and we can theorize and talk about it. Yeah, maybe eventually, I don't know. But basically, to give you guys one last synopsis and rundown of what the original ending was going to be, it would have been with Batman defeating the 13th Brainiac and saying his iconic voice line of, "I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman," as you heard earlier. And like what I said, it was already revealed, it was shown off in the Batman reveal trailer, but that voice line never made it to the final game, and it was cut. And yeah, so that's basically it. So, yeah, that kind of concludes this video. Obviously, and to give you guys more of an understanding too, basically it would have revolved around like saving the entire league. Obviously, the entire league was meant to come back, but it was the ending was meant for Batman to basically have that iconic, one last hurrah for defeating Brainiac. But anyways, though, this is Pineapple Sway. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I have some cool other videos for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League coming in the future. And like what I said, if those voice lines ever, are released to the public, I will obviously have to find out first if I'm allowed to share them, but share them on YouTube with you guys, and then talk about it and theorize on what could have been. But once again, please be respectful to Rocksteady in my comment section, and don't use this video or what I've told you guys today as fuel to hate them. They thought they were making the best decision to cut the voice lines because the game was a disaster. It was not good, and they didn't want that to tarnish what Kevin Conroy was and his iconic character. Please understand that I'm trying to make that as clear as possible, because a lot of the times you guys don't seem to understand exactly what I'm saying or trying to explain to you guys. Anyways, though, this is Pineapple Sway. Peace out.